You're listening to The Real Wealth Show with Kathy Fedke, the real estate investor's resource.
If you were looking for a real estate agent to help you find investment property, how would you find that specialist? It's been pretty hard to do up until now because most real estate agents focus on residential for primary residences. But that's all about to change. I'm Kathy Fedke, and welcome to The Real Wealth Show. I'm very excited to announce that Real Wealth is expanding. We will now have a national brokerage of certified real wealth agents who specialize in helping people find investment property, whether it's foreclosures or short sales, properties to flip or BRRRR or commercial property. And our senior investment counselor at Real Wealth, Ben Smith, is going to be heading up that national brokerage of certified real wealth agents. And he's here on the Real Wealth Show to tell us what he's got planned. Welcome back, Ben.
Thank you, Kathy. Glad to be here. It's been a while.
I know, and I'm excited about what you're about to talk about. We have not unveiled this yet, but we're about to.
Yeah.
So, as you know, let's talk about you. You were originally a member of Real Wealth. You were building your portfolio. You ended up buying some turnkey properties through the teams within our network. And then we had an opening, and it just happened to be right when you said, hey, do you guys have an opening? You've been an investment counselor with Real Wealth ever since. I mean, gosh, how many people have you counseled or, advised at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got about 715 plus or minus people that I've done strategy sessions with, many of whom reach out to me on a regular basis. Some don't, but most do. And yeah, a lot of conversations with a lot of people, and been investing in real estate for about 30 years and stumbled across Real Wealth Network around 2012 or 13, I think. And heard you on, I think it was CanBR, talking to somebody, and it just was right up my alley, and the rest is history. And I love being here and counseled a lot of people, been to a lot of events, and the hits just keep on coming. I mean, never a dull moment. It's a good market right now to invest in real estate, and it pretty much always has been.
And you have such the inside scoop of what investors are wanting, what they're buying, because you've spoken to so many and you've helped them point them in the right direction of which market maybe that would be the better fit for them. I'm just curious, before we get into the new announcement, are you seeing anything different over the last few months? I mean, COVID, 2020 has been a crazy year, but based on your conversations with investors over the past 6 months, or even just the past few months, does it seem different than the past 5 years that you've been talking to people?
Ironically, it's really not all that different now. Now, in March and April, when we were all kind of like the whole rest of the country, the whole rest of the world, just kind of cautiously not really sure what to expect, we were going very slowly, not making any concrete recommendations, so we just didn't know, right? But then since then, things have really leveled off, and almost universally, the property teams say that rental demand is just as strong. The quality of the applicants to rental properties are just as good as they ever were. So it really hasn't changed things. The big difference is a lot of people are reluctant to travel. A lot of people like me just get on an airplane anyway and don't even think about it. But some people, the majority probably are a little cautious, but it really doesn't affect anything, because even before COVID, I'm guessing here, but I think probably about 50% of our people got on a plane to go visit their properties, and the other 50%, due to their life situation, are too busy to do that anyway. And we're kind of set up to where you don't really need to go visit the property initially. We recommend it. It's a good idea. Know who you're dealing with, know the neighborhoods. But if you can't or don't want to, it's not the end of the world.
So that's the big change, is now buying real estate has become remote, like
Yeah.
so many things. And there's so many ways to do that through, obviously you should always get a third-party inspection report anyway, third-party appraisal anyway.
Right.
But now you can ask the seller to send all kinds of videos, send video of the street, of the neighborhood, pretend they're on a tour with you and just film it,
Right.
So you can really see what's going on in the neighborhood. But then so much can be done online too, looking at comparable rents and
completely. Rent-O-Meter and, all these different Neighborhood Scout and, city-data.com. There's all these resources, but don't be afraid to just say, hey, Mr. Property Team in Saskatchewan, could you please just walk outside 123 Main Street and film to the left and to the right and up and down so that I can just kind of see what's outside the frame? It just will make me feel a lot more comfortable. I mean, worst they can do is say no, and most likely they won't say no.
But yeah, most companies have figured out, wow, we're going to have to do a lot of transactions. We're going to have to pretty much take our business online. So how do we do that with real estate? And it's really not that hard. That's what cameras are for.
Right. Exactly. So, so for the most part, I mean, everybody's staying busy. Our property teams seem to be, just rolling with the punches. So I don't want to say it's business as usual, because obviously it's not, but it hasn't really affected things nearly as dramatically as we all feared it might.
Yeah, we just did that survey of, I think it was over 500 Real Wealth members. And I think for the most part, people who bought through our network of property providers haven't felt an impact.
Right.
But there was about 40% of the people who responded were feeling a negative impact, but most of those people were in California and self-managing their properties, right? And they hadn't bought through our network.
Yeah, I mean, knock on wood, but I mean, the properties that I have not had any effect yet. I mean, it's most people are doing okay. I mean, a lot of people aren't, but I haven't been affected, and most of the people that I talk to haven't been too much. And the people that I do speak to that are concerned about it, I always tell them, well, anybody who applies, if you buy a property tomorrow, anybody who applies to rent your property needs to meet the rental guidelines. So if COVID has affected them, they, unfortunately for them, won't meet the guidelines. So you're actually okay as somebody who's purchasing property now.
Rather than somebody who maybe had their tenant get laid off in March and can't evict them, which I think we do have a Real Wealth member in that situation where the tenant was very deeply affected in March and, hasn't been able, or has only been able to make small payments. But it's been very, very few. I would say that's one of the reasons I personally have focused in B neighborhoods and even B+ and A- neighborhoods. And in this case, those are the people who have been more able to work remotely. It's a C class that maybe are working in the travel industry or in the restaurant industry or hotel, and they are definitely affected. But as we know, unemployment benefits have paid out pretty well, and that's helped a lot of people pay their rent.
They have been. And then also you have to kind of look at things through the lens of what state you're in, because like, for example, here in Florida, yes, it's affected us, but I can go out to a restaurant. I mean, they're all open for the most part. There are a few that out of paranoia just aren't, but it really, at this point in time, it hasn't really affected things all that much. So sometimes people call me and they're like, oh my God, I haven't been out of the house for months and I can't, and but that's not really the case in most of the markets that we are in, that we're recommending people buy.
Yeah, without hopefully causing too much controversy, the markets that we recommend people invest in are red states. I mean, not all of them, but they're landlord business friendly states. That's why we choose them. They're places that have made it very attractive for businesses to move there, like Texas and Florida and Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah.
So, and even, in Ohio. And so these are areas that businesses are moving to. So people are moving there, and yet very affordable. So for that reason, perhaps we haven't been as affected because we're in areas where the shutdowns didn't last very long. Unlike California, where you used to live, and you're one of the many thousands of people who said enough is enough, and you picked up the family and moved to Florida.
I escaped, and I'm glad I did, especially now, considering everything that you poor Californians are having to suffer through.
Well, we're getting more open. At least we can go on trails and beaches now, and get the hair done, though I haven't yet. All right, I've been holding out as long as I can.
Right, yeah.
All right, so what we've been doing for 15 years, ever since I interviewed Robert Kiyosaki and he kind of taught me about market cycles and following demographics, live on my show that you listened to when you first heard me. And he said, you got to look at the fundamentals. And in California, it was 2005. Prices were so expensive in California, but in other parts of the country, it was very cheap. So even at the peak of the boom, there were areas in the country that hadn't done that. for whatever reason. And Texas was one of those areas where the lending laws were actually pretty strict at the time. Prices did not go up like they did in California. So yet jobs were moving there, and it was a really attractive place to buy. So Rich and I jumped on a plane, bought 5 properties after Kiyosaki was on the show, came back. I talked about it on the radio. We had our phones ringing off the hook of people who wanted to do the same. And that started a business of helping assist people in high-priced, tenant-friendly and anti-landlord states. We helped them, sell their overpriced property in 2005 and exchange it for properties in Texas. So we've been doing that ever since, going out. You've gone out, I've gone out. We've now got Tim Horvath that goes out and finds people, companies in different markets, in these different markets that have really good cash flow and the potential for appreciation. And we've, found these teams who can provide already renovated or brand new properties to our members. And then they offer property management in place. And since it's a very limited number of people who can offer that full service, full kind of turnkey concept where they find the property, they renovate it to our standards, and they offer the property management. We've had a very limited number of markets, right? I think it's always around 12 to 15 markets. But people will sometimes say, well, I want to invest in Boise, Idaho. Do you have a team there? No, we don't. I want to invest in Las Vegas or Phoenix. Do you have a team there? No, we don't, because there's so many factors in place trying to find a team that can offer it all.
Right.
So it was in December, you being on the, one of the directors at RealWealth, and along with Tim and Rich and Nick and Kelly, we're talking about what's 2020 going to bring. Boy, did we not know.
Yeah.
Boy, did we not know. But one of the things we discussed as our 2020 goal was to broaden the buffet, should we say, and have agents nationwide who can provide people properties that maybe aren't renovated, because maybe a buyer just wants to renovate it themselves, or they want to buy a short sale, or they want a foreclosure. That just wasn't something we offered because we were offering properties already renovated. So we're like, let's have a national brokerage. How do we do that? And then we found a solution. So let's talk about that, how you saw this as kind of the next iteration of your role at RealWealth.
Right. Well, you articulated very well how you just said that. And I think to add to that, I mean, I don't know how many times I've been at a live event and somebody comes up to me, and you said the same thing. They've come up to you and said, thank you so much for all the education. I love you. I love everything that you're providing. And guess what? I bought 10 properties. And then we're like, where'd you buy the 10 properties? In my backyard in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And we're like, very happy for them. I mean, that's fantastic. But it wasn't through any of our property teams. So we just thought, to what you were saying, is that how can we, expand the buffet and provide an alternative to people who just, for whatever reason, aren't comfortable buying out of state. They want to dip their toe in the real estate investing pool in the market that they already live in and they're already at. But the problem with that is, okay, what do they do? I mean, we've got our 18 markets, mostly in the upper Midwest and the Southeast, going as far west as Texas, but there isn't a Phoenix, there isn't a Vegas, there isn't a Boise, there certainly isn't a Santa Fe. So how do they stay in their backyard while still applying the principles that you talk about in your book and we all talk about on a daily basis? Well, they can obviously do that, but they're kind of on their own if they do that. So this is a perfect opportunity to allow them to reach out to somebody that has gone through RealWealth training, is certified, and is an agent in one of those cities. So it's a plethora of new options down the road. Not yet, we're working on it. We're just starting this for our members to be able to buy in other areas outside of our core 18 markets. Yeah,
we're very excited to be launching the certified agent, the RealWealth Certified Agent program, where real estate agents nationwide will be experts in real estate investment. I mean, one of the problems of buying an investment property is that there isn't any known company that you would call to buy 1 to 4 units for investment purposes. That's why people come to us. But again, we've only had this limited number of locations where we do that. So now we can expand nationwide. We are now looking for agents to join us in our certified agent program. I think until December, it's free, right?
Yeah. It's going to be free until December 31st. So the way it works is you are an existing real estate agent. Now, if you're thinking about becoming one, that doesn't necessarily close the door on you doing any of this, but you need to get an agent, be a licensed real estate agent wherever first, and then reach out to us. But the goal is you jump through a few hoops, take a couple tests, and become certified as a RWCA, Real Wealth Certified Agent. So now you're an agent with whomever, wherever. You're now certified with Real Wealth. You're an RWCA. Ideally, we would have you come over and join our national brokerage and be part of that. You get a listing on our site as part of the RWCA so that our membership can then plug in and look at, gee, what other cities are folks available in? Now, there aren't any yet because we're just starting this. So we're looking to find as many agents as we can that are qualified, that are experienced, even if they only have a little bit of experience, and they can be, you as the agent listening to this now, can be a Real Wealth Certified Agent based in City X. You'll be listed on our site as a certified agent in that site. And hey, we have 250 people joining our network each and every week, and they're all real estate investors. So they will see your name listed under Boise, Idaho, and they can contact you. And it's just another option for our members.
Yeah, so we are just thrilled. I mean, up until now, we have been licensed in California. You're in Florida, but trying to create that national brokerage was something we didn't know how to do until now. So we're very excited. If you are not in love with the brokerage that you're with, or even if you are a broker, you can still join us. You can still, of course, have your own brand. It's just that you would be Real Wealth certified, which means that you would have passed a test showing that you're an expert in real estate investments, which is very different than most agents who really are experts in helping people find their primary residence. And this is what I wrote about in my book. If I wanted to buy a property in Boise or whatever the next hot market is, or where my kid is going to college and I just want to buy a property there, I would just, what would I do? You know, what would I do? I'd call maybe the agent I work with and say, hey, do you have a referral in this city? Well, maybe they do, maybe they don't. And maybe I would go online and look, but what do I know about that person? Go on Zillow, they're going to just, that's just paid advertising. So like, how do you find that expert who can look at real estate as an investment, even if it's your primary residence? Because so many people, I've been wanting to help get into their primary residence as an investment, opposite than what Kiyosaki says. He says, never treat it like an investment. I totally disagree with that. I think if you do it right, you only have to put 3% down. You can buy a property that would work well as a rental. You just have to live in it for a while, but then you don't have to live in it forever. You just have to have the intention to live there. So my vision is to see agents across the country who can help people start with maybe their primary, maybe that primary is a 1 to 4 unit. It's in the right area. It would make a great rental later. Or it's a BRRRR property. It's a property that would work really well to, to buy, renovate. What is it? Refi.
I always forget. There's always an R that I forget, but repeat, refi, rinse, repeat. Exactly.
Rinse, repeat. Yes, that one. Or maybe you just kind of want to flip it. And you want an expert in the area that really knows how to find the right neighborhood for flipping and how to find the right deal so that there's enough upside to do that. These are the kind of people that I searched the country for. 15 years ago, I was on airplanes every week, landing in different cities, looking for the best real estate agents in town that could help me look at real estate as an investment, but in the residential space. Because, if you get 5 units and up, well, then you're working with a commercial broker. And of course, they better understand investment property. That's what they're selling. But in the 1 to 4 unit, most people don't. I mean, I've talked to agents who've been in the business for 20 years helping people buy their primary residence, and they're good at it. But when, they said, what about that 1043 exchange? They don't know real estate as an investment. So I'm very excited to be unveiling this new brokerage, national brokerage of certified agents
Yep.
that meet our real wealth standards for certification. And Ben, what should people do? Because you're heading this up,
Mm-hmm.
and having been an investor for, what did you say? 20,
Well, 30 years.
30 years.
I was 22
You don't look that
when I
old.
bought my first investment property in Walnut Creek. So yeah, 30 years.
30 years. And then as an investment counselor at Real Wealth for
Mhm.
at least 6 now, right?
6 or 7, 2014. So yeah, and just to reiterate what you just said, I mean, all these agents, they're fantastic at what they do, but they're completely clueless when it comes to investing. That's not the world that they live in. It's a whole different world than helping Bob and Mary Sue buy a primary residence. So what we'll do is, anybody who's listening to this who's interested, you go to RealWealthAgents with an S.com, and it'll explain the whole process, why we're doing this, kind of reiterating what we've already talked about. But what you want to do is you fill out a little form, and it'll take you to, it comes to me, I kind of approve it, and then there's a bunch of things you need to do. It's not a huge, giant list, but you get a download of Kathy's book. You need to read that and understand it if you haven't already, which you might most likely have. There's a bunch of other resources, one about 1031s, one about some tax stuff, some 7 steps for basic investing, just everything looking through the lens of real estate investing as an investor. Once you've kind of read through a lot of that, which many people will already know a lot of that, but many people won't, you take a 50 question test, make sure you do well on that. It comes to me, and then eventually you get, I'll see if I can just show this here, but you get a little certification. Here it is.
Yay!
And I'm not exactly sure how you'll get a certification. You can put the letters after your name, you get a plaque, and then you get to be part of the whole agent, the whole RWCA listing. You'll be listed on our site, and the 250 members that join every week, on top of the 58,000 that are already members, will see your name listed under that market. So it's going to, hopefully, I don't want to say it will, because we don't know yet, but it should create a tremendous amount of leads for potential agents. And you just come over and join our brokerage, and away we go.
Yeah, and we're just excited to be expanding, again, our network, because we have such great relationship with our, I guess now we would call it boutique part of the business, which is the property teams that we found and that Tim has helped to nurture, so that they're constantly getting coached themselves on how to improve their systems. And we do masterminds together, and they have served our members so well for so long. But like we said, there's some people who don't want that concierge service. They don't want to go to Nordstrom. They have more time. People who are busy and buying out of state, 100%, I still highly, highly recommend that you go with a concierge, that you have someone really taking care of you. Because if you're trying to manage a renovation out of state when you're working full time and you've got a family and you're dealing with COVID and all this stuff, I don't recommend that. I really think it's worth it. I mean, I've got a family member now, I won't say his name, but they just thought, I'd rather do it ourselves than go through Real Wealth. And they bought a property they've now spent, it didn't work out well. They've now had to fly out for 3 months and be at that property working on it and overseeing the rent. They've spent so much more than if they had gone turnkey or bought a new home or, know.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. This is not to take away anything from our 18 full-fledged teams around the country in those markets that's the emphasis. But this just provides a nice outlet for those who fit into those other categories. The Burr category, the I'm not comfortable going farther than 5 miles away from where I live category. There's a bunch of other reasons you might want to stray outside of the 18 core markets. Just know that it's going to be a little bit more work and a little bit more or a little bit less hand-holding, but it's more options for our membership.
Awesome. All right, Ben. Well, I'm really excited about your passion for it too. As soon as we talked about this national brokerage, and we're using the platform of EXP, which is a really cool online, how do I say this? There may have been not a great reputation in the beginning because it was new, it was a startup, but they've really figured things out, very high tech. We really think this is going to grow rapidly, and we're on the ground floor of it.
I mean, I joined EXP too when I started doing this, and just the transition over was very simple and easy. And I just love the fact that everything's cloud based. I don't have to go to an office locally. It's just a whole different model, but they're taking off exponentially taking off. I mean, they're really growing fast, but not too fast to where they're become victims of their own success. So I'm really pleased with what I've seen so far from EXP, the support that they offer, the training, and just the ease of everything.
And so, for the purposes of RealWealth, the fact that we can now have a national brokerage. And
exactly.
so can other agents who join as a certified agent.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. So that's realwealthagents.com. Where people can go.
It'll all be self-explanatory. And if you have any questions at all, anybody wants to, they can reach out to me, Ben, B-E-N, at realwealth.com. And then we can set up a time, we can talk through it. But it's pretty self-explanatory. When you go to that landing page, it explains everything from beginning to end, takes you to the next step. You confirm your email, then you go to the test, and it's pretty self-explanatory and streamlined. But anybody can always reach out to me anytime they want.
Wonderful. All right, Ben, thank you so much for joining me here on the
Kathy.
RealWealth Show. All right.
Bye-bye.
And thank you for joining me here on the RealWealth Show. If you're interested in becoming a certified RealWealth agent, again, just go to realwealthagents.com. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.